आपको बता दें कि श्रीलंका आर्थिक संकट से जूझ रहा है और इसको लेकर लोगों का गुस्सा सड़कों पर फूटा है। इसे देखते हुए सरकार ने इमरजेंसी लगाया है। हमारी संवाददाता श्रीजा वहां मौजूद है, वहां से उन्होंने कुछ विस्तृत रिपोर्ट्स भेजी हैं। आइए वो सारी खबरें आपको दिखाते हैं।
NDTV is reporting from the epicenter of the Sri Lankan crisis. In fact, just about 50 meters away from the president's residence over here. What we are looking at is that over 2,000 people who have gathered right here. Tear gas shelling is happening at the moment. People are unruly at the moment. They are very... in fact, they are demanding the resignation of the president, Gotabaya. And what we did witness was the crowd. In fact, they are running from this particular stretch of road where water jets are being used at the moment. Also, they are, in fact, the shelling of tear gas is what you're witnessing right behind me. People are trying to, they are dispersing from that particular spot. There is one person who's been injured. What we are looking at the moment. So there is what we are looking at here on the visuals is that one person who's been injured right here. And several crowd, in fact, the numbers are just swelling right outside the president's private residence over here. And over 5,000 is almost the number that's touching that we are looking at, because the people that we spoke to, what we understand is that they are looking forward to continue, in fact, to just protest right outside the president's residence. And in fact, the situation is very tough at the moment because they have shelled the tear gas at the moment, and we are hearing, we are hearing slogans that are being shouted by people that, in fact, the president will have to step down even after the crisis, even after the entire country has, in fact, slipped into huge depression in terms of the economic crisis. They say that president continues to, in fact, live with all the kind of luxuries, be it electricity, water, whatever the kind of essential commodities or even for essential utilities that's been provided to him is not really being provided to the common man. Now that's the voice of the people that you're hearing, and NDTV reporting right at the epicenter of this particular crisis. What is the situation right now outside the president's house? Because they're already trying to storm through the barricades.
Some people, little people.
Senior officer telling us that the situation right now, he's of course, though the kind of number that we are looking at, in fact swelling over 5,000, the officer is confirming that they are able to manage the crowd, but remember the cops, they don't clearly, in fact they don't really have much in strength. The mob that you see right here outnumbers the cops that have assembled right here. You have a fire and rescue team who have come. The reason is because what we understand onto my right that we can show you visuals right here is the bus, the police van that's been set on fire. Now that is the situation at the moment that we're looking at. Of course, right now the fire rescue vehicle is trying to make its way through the particular crowd. The huge mob that's gathered over here. The mob right now is sending the fire and rescue vehicle. They're just asking them to exit from here, exit from this particular stretch of road. Of course, the situation is very tense at the moment, and though the senior officer is told that he's got the situation under control, that's not something that we're looking at the moment. So you have gathered along with nearly over 500 to 1,000 people who have gathered here?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your name?
I'm Ruan.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why are you here? What are you demanding? Because I could hear slogans being shouted by people.
We want this government to go home. They have failed. because we don't have electricity. We had a lot of hopes. I'm a person who voted this government. I wanted this government to come, and we had a lot of hopes. We want to live in harmony, but nothing is happening now, right? No electricity, no exams of kids because there are no paper, no proper plan, no economic strategy for this government, right? And they are only looking at their well-being. They are still keep on robbing from this country, robbing from all these people standing here. So we started this candle protest in small place, small groups. It erupted today. We were at Jubilee Post over there, and people are crying within. The pain coming up within.
Yes.
Right? No political party involved here. No JVP, no Sajaba, no UNP. We are just all Sri Lankans, Sinhalese, Tamil, Muslim. Everyone is together here to demand our country back to us. That is what we need.
Okay, well, thank you. In fact, you have one of the demonstrators right here who's saying that they're not politically backed, but they are from all communities, whether Buddhism, Christians, Muslims, Sinhalese, Tamil. Now, they have all gathered here right outside the President's house, but just at least about 100 meters away, because we also just did see where the water jets, the police vans making their way through this particular mob to the President's house to ensure that the crowd is dispersed at the moment. In fact, what we see here is the solidarity of Sri Lankans, as told after we speak to quite a lot of people here. They call this a solidarity. We're coming together of the Sri Lankans, demanding the resignation of the president, asking him to go home for failing to look after the tax-paying citizens here. We are just a few meters away, right outside President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's residence, and what we see right here is that over 500 to 1,000 people is what they have gathered right outside the president's house. In fact, trying to question the president as to what really has he done for the people of Sri Lanka, rather just sit and watch as the people of Sri Lanka suffer and just give out statements to media. So if I can bring to you this ground report right here to show you what's really happened over the past 1 hour or so, we've seen that the cops use water jets to disperse the crowd over here, and the mob who had gathered right outside onto the road that you see is the glass bottles completely shattered. Right now the situation is a very tense atmosphere that we are reporting from, the place that we are reporting from. Of course, the people over here, what we cannot really confirm at the moment is if all those who have gathered here, are they common man, or are they in fact triggered by certain political parties of political interest. Now that is something that we cannot confirm. Also, we are getting information from our sources telling us that yes, of course, this cannot really be only just the people gathering at this one particular point. It could also be various other political parties of political interest who must have triggered the people to come right here and also stage protests. So various people trying to, in fact, we also did hear slogans where they are demanding the resignation of the president for failing the people of Sri Lanka, also not being in fact a leader. The ground situation as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, because we are seeing how the situation is getting from bad to worse, because as we speak also we've seen various people, several people continuously, they are continuing to make serpentine lines right outside fuel stations for petrol, and the other issues that we are of course looking at is the blackouts today. What we did see on ground was the people in fact facing blackouts for power cuts for nearly 13 hours. So this is a very unpredictable situation for people right here in Sri Lanka, but for the place that we are reporting from, you also have several people who have gathered here, in fact carrying the placards that read "Enough is enough, Sri Lankans speak up, go home." Now that is something that we are looking at the moment. also the people who have gathered here is basically they're trying to lay siege past the barricades, especially which is placed right outside the president's house. All that they are asking for is either the president or the government here fix the issues, fix the problem as soon as possible, or things an indication of from the people, coming from the people, because this is the frustration that you're looking at, the frustration, the anger that's coming out of the people, also sending out signals and indication that things could get really worse. NDTV is back on the site, the scene of crime. What you're witnessing here right behind me is a trail of destruction that's left by the mob who had gathered here late last night, who tried to make their way through this particular stretch of road leading to the president, Gotabaya Rajapaksa's residence. So today we are looking at this morning, we're looking at a flurry of ministers, politicians making their way to his house, and also inquiring in terms of, as far as the deployment of the police and the special task force is concerned. And this is the kind of destruction that we are looking at and reporting from on ground, very, very, very close to the president's house. We did, of course, see the Prime Minister as well making his way to his house to inquire and also to discuss about the next course of action. But what we do know at the moment is the police confirming to us that at least about 45 persons where they have been taken into custody. Amongst the 45 persons, individuals, at least one is a woman, is what we are understanding. Just late last night was the police had declared curfew in certain areas, certain pockets, sensing a very troubled situation, but they had already lifted the curfew just early this morning around 5 a.m. So it's a very tense atmosphere right in this particular stretch of road and just a few meters away from me. And if I could also bring you some visuals right here. There are officers from the Criminal Records Bureau, the Fingerprint Bureau, where they have come here, arrived here to this very spot, the crime scene, to collect the evidence. And what we did, of course, witness just late last night was where a mob that had gathered, at least about 1,000 to 1,500, clearly swelled to over 5,000, and the number of people who had gathered had outnumbered the police officials and also the kind of deployment that they had on ground. It was, it clearly the entire situation went out of control, and the police did, after speaking to the DIG, what we do understand is that they were waiting for the crowd to disperse. And one of the measures that they did, of course, bring in was to quell the crowd was use the water jets, the water cannons, and also we did see where shelling of tear gas was being carried out right here at this very spot. So now we see the entire place has been barricaded so that, to ensure not really there's any entry to other people. But we see there are several officials visiting the residence of the president, and also one of the major demands of just late last night's arson, the protest that led to, was where the question coming in from the common man saying that, when the president's house and the surrounding areas, they are having, there are absolutely no power cuts, but it's the common man who's facing the real crisis. So that was one of the major, in fact, as far as the entire protest, the reason why they had arrived here, but also the president's media division confirming, saying that an extremist group is also behind, apart from a number of common man being involved in the protest, an extremist group is also being involved in this, who had orchestrated this particular incident. It's a huge crisis that we are looking at here on ground in Sri Lanka. Reporting from Nugegod, just a few kilometers away from here to the president's house. What we see right behind me is the queue, the serpentine queue, and it's almost for at least about a kilometer or so. We've been just walking, and we see several vehicles, from autos to four-wheelers to two-wheelers. They're all waiting in this such a huge serpentine like queue. But I would also like to show you now, this is the Sipitco fuel station, which is the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation. You can see that they have chained this particular entry to the fuel station. The only reason, what we understand, they tell us, is that they don't really have diesel available, but however they are managing with some stock as far as the petrol is concerned. Now, we also did of course speak to the manager of Sipitco. He says that they have at least about 6,000 liters of petrol, but that will also, in fact, they will also run out of as far as petrol stock is concerned. So today we see across majority of them, in fact, majority of the fuel stations, diesel has completely run out. And we also spoke to some of the managers at various petrol stations. What they tell us is that the stock hasn't arrived. Now that's something that we are also looking at. So it's a completely, right now we don't really look at a lot of people at the moment. The reason is also because they have chained and locked. Now that is something we are looking at on ground situation, and we are also getting information that they are yet to pay, especially the Sri Lanka government is yet to pay nearly $52 million to a company, and there is a ship, there are already 2 ships that have arrived at the moment here in Sri Lanka waters. But one, we understand since diesel is in very limited supply, they are waiting for the 2 shipment to arrive and dock, and one on the Indian credit line diesel, and the other we understand where, since the payment has still not been done, now that has still not reached the shores of Sri Lanka. Now this is the crisis, the deepening crisis as far as the fuel shortage is concerned. You know, multiple, in fact, across the length and breadth of Sri Lanka, we are witnessing long serpentine queues. People are waiting in the scorching heat, some of them even carrying the cans. Now that is the kind of visual that we are looking at. Now, for the straight, at least about a week or more, we have been seeing the situation, and the situation is only getting, in fact, from bad to worse. In Nugegur, with camera person Govind Murthy, Shrija for NDTV.